Hello, one and all, and welcome to Creative Spark, my YouTube show where I talk to cool people about the cool things that they do. And with me today is someone in charge of pretty much all of the cool things. Cole from the DM of Deck. I messed up the intro. The Deck of DM things. I'm leaving it in.
You're welcome to redo it if you want.
Nah.
I think.
I called Bob Worldbuilder Bob the World Builder and was convinced that was his channel name until he corrected me, and it's just
Bob
like
World Builder.
No,
It's Bob World Builder.
There's no the.
That is a Mandela effect if I've ever heard one. I would have sworn it was Bob the World Builder.
Same.
I love. Yeah, I watch so much of his content. That's crazy.
Yeah.
We knew every.
The time to learn it is not when you're interviewing him.
I know. Well, we're in it together.
It's glad that it's not just me. Anyway, how are you?
Dude, I'm excellent. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on for this little chat.
No, I appreciate you making time. This is a brief glance behind the DM screen, I guess. This is one of the fastest chats to interview setups I think I've had with this process. Normally it takes a few weeks to get everything to align, and this was, I think I reached out to you last week. So
yeah, the timing was impeccable because I just returned from Gencon and from like chaos, and all my calendar was completely free. Yeah, I was excited to get into it as well. So glad it worked out.
It's the way to do it. Right, let's talk about. I want to talk about your YouTube channel, but I think that your content creation starts way before that. Is the feeling I get?
Yes, yeah, that is correct. My first videos, my first content was all on TikTok, starting back in 2020. So right mid-pandemic.
Classic.
Like a lot of creators these days, I'm sure that same origin period, I think. Yeah, that's exclusively where I posted for like 2 or 3 years, and it wasn't until I want to say 2023 that I even made any YouTube content at all. Yeah,
I think it was the end of. I think it was November 8th, 2022. Looking at your first long form video.
Yeah, the very very first one. That sounds right. So almost 2023.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
How did you find the transition between the two platforms?
I found it difficult at the time, especially. TikTok obviously is, especially back then, was pure short form. So nothing. Rarely anything over a minute. They didn't really push longer videos until years after that period of time. And, that at that time, I was just trying to do long form in addition to that. And the thing about TikTok and short form, especially when you first start out, is usually you're not doing that much editing or anything like that. And so my editing skill set was extremely limited at the time. So I jumped in trying to do these, up to 10-minute videos. I think the first ones were shorter than that on YouTube. And that was a huge struggle. I didn't really know how to script it, how to pace it, and I certainly didn't know how to edit it. And you can see that for sure if you go back and look at the older ones. It was just a new frontier, So it was a rough transition, certainly.
I can imagine. Were you already full-time content creating by the time you started doing YouTube, or had that not started yet?
Not yet. I didn't go full-time until 2024, January 2024. And I had found some like good traction on TikTok that was very halting, kind of start-stop. By the time I started on YouTube, and then YouTube took a long time to get any traction there. But it would take a couple more years before I had enough consistency and enough knowledge and kind of all the above to justify making that switch.
So you're about a year and a half into full-time content creation now?
Yeah, just about.
Congrats.
Just about. Yeah, or a little bit over, I guess. Yeah, thank you very much. It's been awesome.
How does it compare to what you were doing previously?
So the years leading up to going full-time, I was bartending for about 3.5 years, which has more overlap than the other job I had because you're talking to people. There's a lot of that presentation for drinks. I was a tour guide as well. So a lot of just like talking to people. and now just talk to a camera. So not a huge difference. And then for a brief period, I was also actually was like managing a chocolate kitchen, like
Hmm.
baking chocolate um, for a living, which is kind of bizarre. And so transitioning to content full time was quite a bit different
Mm.
than both of those in the day to day.
Mm.
Obviously, it's one thing I really loved about like being a bartender, for example, was that you never take work home with you. You
Yeah.
clock in, do your work, clock out, and you're done. Um, Obviously, with content, it's kind of the complete opposite because you're never really out and
Hmm.
you're never really in. You know, you're always thinking about new videos or
Yeah.
writing down ideas. You know, I'm in my house when I'm making, doing work, but thankfully, it doesn't usually feel like work, and so it's um, not that bad of a trade off.
That's
Uh,
good.
yeah, yeah. But I think the biggest difference though is simply the fact that you're not relying on anyone else. No one's relying on you. So you get all the credit when you succeed, but you also you get all the blame. And it's a double edged sword, but it's I love it. I think it's super rewarding.
Do you feel like you've had any failures in the time you've been doing this full time?
Um, I think my perspective on it, I view content very much on a video by video
Hmm.
basis. You know, I think there are always videos that fall very far short of what I would hope that they would do.
Mm.
There's like the metric side where it's like, oh, that video flopped,
Yep.
so that is a failure, but not like a gut wrenching one. It's just that's another data point, which is really
Mm.
nice. This video failed. Don't know why right now, but I can look back at it and you know figure out what I changed and what didn't stick. You know, um, so I think there's a lot of small failures. There's a lot of projects I've started that I haven't finished. That's definitely a trend. Um, and those sometimes feel like minor failures, but
Mm.
also just feel like pause buttons. So yes and no. Yes, I feel like I've had some failures, but
Mm.
nothing huge.
You have to be very
Nothing.
willing to kill anything that you're doing at a moment's notice. I think with especially with full time, like if it's your entire job.
Yeah, yeah. That is true. It's like to your point. You know, you kind of need the numbers to support what you're doing. You know, because you can't waste your time doing things that
Mm.
aren't going to and the views that you need or the income that you need. So you do have to occasionally, like you said, put things aside if it's not making sense.
Yeah. You're in a really interesting space, I think, within D&D YouTube because primarily it is people who are giving advice to players, D&D shorts. It's people that are giving advice to DMs and GMs, Matt Colville, Dardy from Mythic Arts. There's not many people who are doing the thing that you're doing, which is mostly just look at this cool thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think about that a lot because I think I mentioned that we just got back from Gen Con,
Mm-hmm.
which is this huge, tabletop convention here in the States. And, you meet and see a lot of other creators there, a lot of other people in the space. And I'm always reminded of the fact that I do kind of exist in a slightly weirder
Mm.
corner or different. Here, where my dog, this is one of my assistants. This is Theodore.
It's beautiful.
Um, Thank you. Um, But yeah, I do like you said, I exist in this kind of weird space in between because there's a lot of people that are extremely good.
Mm.
Like you said, Will from D&D Shorts as a great example, are extremely good at making that kind of content and are obviously like titans of this sphere.
Yeah.
Um, and that's part of the reason that I think ended up where I am, partially because I like weird little things and I
Mm.
like focusing on physical stuff. It's kind of in the channel name after Ascent. But also there's others that do that D&D advice, that DM advice, that player advice so well
Mm.
already that I wouldn't. I've tried it. You can see, in the past, especially in my long form, I've like dabbled in that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, there's people who are so good at it, and I respect that so much that I don't want to dilute it anymore than I already have. So that's one of the reasons I kind of stick to my corner.
That's very fair. I think it's something that a lot of D&D YouTubers in general, obviously, but like specifically within our space, it's tricky to find something new to say when you've got people saying it so well.
Yes. Yeah. That's a huge, huge. I don't know if obstacle is the right word, but it's certainly it is hard to come in and say something fresh and new, or say something that's been said before but say it better.
Yes,
it is hard.
Yeah, especially when the field is filled with people who are incredibly intelligent and eloquent because they're dungeon masters, and there's definitely a crossover there, right? It's hard.
It is. It's like a self-selecting sort of world, and there are so many brilliant people in this space, small and large, numbers wise or otherwise. That's one of the things that makes this community so cool, is that you're just constantly surrounded by people who are smarter than you. And I think really help you.
For sure. It's good for perspective. Do you feel like you're a proper part of the D&D YouTuber community, or do you get moments of like the classic imposter syndrome that everyone else gets?
Yeah, I do certainly get imposter syndrome. And then it's things like imposter syndrome are hard because you get in your head and you're like, do I have imposter syndrome? And then like, am I even wrong to think that I could have imposter syndrome in the first place? Because it's like, am I even justified in thinking that? I do. That's an excellent question, and I'm not really sure, because when I think of the D&D community, I especially in the content realm, there's names that come to mind, and I don't think of myself among their ranks necessarily. I do think I'm kind of on a weird fringe of that, where I whenever I describe the content I make to people, it's like, I make nerdy content for people who like D&D and then adjacent dorky things.
Yeah.
And I spend a lot of time in that kind of borderland. But also, I also try my best to really keep my entire perspective on content focused on the actual videos I'm making, and not at all on myself. So I don't really think of myself as a person in the space. I just think of my content as videos that exist in the space, if that makes sense.
That is
like a product.
Yeah,
is a brand. So
that's an extraordinarily healthy way of viewing things. Something I learned very early on in freelancing was to you can't have little bits of your soul in your work, because then when someone edits it or tells you it's not good enough or whatever else, you take it personally.
Yeah. Well, it's exactly that. If you get any kind of criticism, and I mean, I do still. I'm really bad about like reading my comments and things. If you look at my videos, you'll see that I'm very poor at that. But one of the reasons is it's just like, sometimes I'll read a comment, I'm like, oh my god, I could read 1,000 positive ones. One that's like, actually, this is wrong. I'm like, God, I'm an idiot, And so I avoid that. But also, it's kind of a matter of survival when you're doing it as your source of income, because you'll see a lot of channels, not exclusive to the D&D space at all, but any content channel, you'll see people who get to the point where they're like, oh, I am insert creator name, I deserve, or I'm expected to get these many views and to get these, but it's not the case. It's like your content has to justify everything. But if you start thinking otherwise, and you run into this dangerous space of doing the same thing but not getting any different results, and blaming it on something external rather than the stuff that you're making,
Yeah, I mean, that's the be all and end all, ultimately, is what you're putting out and what you're publishing. So makes sense. Yeah. Do you feel, I guess, like more justified and more included when you get put into projects like, I know you're part of the Scorched Basin project, along kind of a few other big faces like Zach the Bold and a few others. Yeah. Does that help?
I think it does. It does, in that sense of identity, I guess, within the community. Scorched Basin is an amazing project that I'm going to be talking a lot about on my channel in the coming month or so. But that is one of those points where definitely very kind of in touch with the community, because Homie and the dude who run Scorched Basin, Tom and Bodie who run them, they're amazing people. They're some of our best friends in the space. But they are probably some of the best I've ever seen at networking and growing relationships, like real human relationships within this space, and bringing other people into that.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of build a family almost
Yeah.
within the space. So when I'm working with them and working, like I sat on a panel with them in Gencon last week, and sat on that with Zach the Bold and Cinderblock Sally. But that was definitely one of those times where it's like, oh, I'm up here, I'm like physically with these people, you know, they're super friendly, everyone's
Yeah.
so cool. That is a time where it's, yeah, I definitely feel more a part of it then, just by the nature of physical proximity, if nothing else.
Yeah. Your last video on your channel was a skit video. Was the NPC view of the NPC thing? You talked about Peasant Railgun and a few other classic D&D memes. Is that something you're looking to move more into? Is with your videos?
Yeah. My channel, my bread and butter has been for the last year, pretty much for the whole time I've been full time, has been my short form videos, which I post to Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and so on and so forth. And I've kind of let my long form go a bit by the wayside, partially because it's so hit or miss. It also takes a lot of time to make, as I'm sure you can relate. Where I was kind of getting to the point where it's like, is it even worth trying to make these long form videos? I don't really know what kind of long form videos I should be making. So I kind of let them go by the side. But recently I've been trying to look at what's been successful on my short form channels and see if I can adapt that to long form. And so I've had some skits lately on my short form channel that have been, a bit more successful. I've been kind of tapping into that a little bit more. So I'm trying to kind of test the waters there and see if that's something that is worth pursuing long form. The one you're referring to, I think, only has like a maybe 1,000 or 2,000 views right now. So it's kind of been like not really worth the time. But something I might continue to poke around with, see if the algorithm picks it up. And it's always this constant experimentation, figuring out what's worth the time and what's not, what people like and what.
It's tricky to cross from short form to long form or vice versa. I think is something that's very consistent, because if you're doing short form and it's going well, then there's no reason really to go into long form. And the crossover between the two from a viewer's perspective is incredibly slim. Like you could get hundreds of thousands of views on a short and then like 10 on a long video.
Yeah. Dude, I have creators, I watch a fair amount of YouTube when I'm like cooking dinner or doing the dishes or whatever. There's a lot of creators I watch on YouTube exclusively, and I never see their short form content. And then there's the other way around, where there's a lot of creators I see on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, but I have never taken the time to go watch their long form videos. Just super ironic, considering I'm a creator that has both, and obviously the audience, like you said, is so split. It's just so different. Yeah, it's incredibly hard to transition from one to the other. I think long form takes a lot more skill and knowledge to do well. Shorts are just by their nature easier to make because they're shorter. People's attention spans are relatively short, or at least it's easier to capture their attention for that short period of time. And that's why I have an immense amount of respect for the creators who excel at long form. And like, if that's what they do and they do it well, my hat's off to you, because it's not an easy thing to do, at all.
Have you got a long-term plan for what you'd like the channel to look like in like 5-10 years?
Sure. I just in the last year, I've been doing a lot of. That's an excellent question, because I think a lot of times content is very short-sighted in the sense of what am I making today, what am I making tomorrow. I've been trying to think about where the channel goes, and for me, to your point, I have this sort of focus on things, DM things, but I have this focus on things. And for me, the most rewarding, the kind of the crossover, what have I found the most rewarding, and what also gets justified views or gets like good engagement, are designing things for 3D printing, and doing weird accessories and things of that nature. So that's currently my trajectory, is trying to focus more on that, on actually designing and making accessories for the space. while also maintaining a lot of the same things they do content wise. But I think that's where I intend to kind of double down, and where I think I can kind of remain. That's where I think I have the best foothold to continue with, over a long period of time.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you'd want to do? Like, is the designing stuff a nice bonus of the YouTube, or is it the other way around?
I think the designing stuff has become a nice bonus of it. It's something that I picked up while making content. It was sort of just a means to, a video end initially, but it's something I've really fallen in love with over time. It's extremely rewarding to have this seed of an idea, and then go sit down, at Blender or Fusion or whatever software is relevant at the time, and build out this idea, do the test prints, get it together, and then put it out there and have people actually really enjoy it or hate it. But in either case, are able to go and take it themselves. And if they have a printer, they can manifest it in their own home is really cool. It's kind of like a medium of creation that is really new, relatively speaking, but is so cool because I can take a physical thing and basically, it's the closest thing to like a Star Trek.
Yeah.
To someone else's home.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool and really rewarding. So it's something I love, and it's certainly it's very selfish to want to do it because I just like doing it. At the end of the day,
you've got to like what you're putting out ultimately.
Yeah.
Or it's
that's huge. Yeah. Yeah, incredibly important.
Is there a way in which the technology could improve that would make that side of things easier for you? Is there like a wish list you have of features for that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's hard to say because I feel like it is at such a great point now that even 10 years ago was inconceivable, in the sense of, like 3D printers are now so cheap, relatively speaking, so accessible. Finding files and places to share them are so plentiful now, and it's only growing. I haven't really seen anything that is lacking. I think there's people who want to find easier ways to make 3D models. One of the answers to that is AI, but that is not something anyone wants, or most people don't want. I don't want it. I enjoy that like physical labor, or not physical, but digital labor of sitting down and making something by hand, in your 3D modeling softwares and things. So, short answer, no. I don't think there's anything that I would have added that doesn't already exist.
Makes sense. When you play D&D, do you get a chance to play D&D in amongst everything you're doing?
There's been times where the answer is no, and there's been times where the answer is yes. Thankfully, I'm at a time now where the answer is yes. And actually have a session tonight nice. With a relatively newer group that we just put together, my buddies and I. So yes, do get to play D&D.
Do you play? So you play physically, presumably?
Yes. In person whenever possible.
Have you played online?
I did during COVID. I did during COVID quite a lot, and it was not my favorite.
That's fair.
I much prefer that in-person chemistry.
I mean, it adds up as well, given the focus of the channel.
Yeah, exactly.
How often do you get to surprise your players with some cool new thing that you've created or found?
A good amount. I like to... a lot of the props and things that I find or that I make, they need to be added in a very specific way a lot of times. And one of such things I might even have within distance to grab. No, I don't know where it is. But there's one piece I got from the Shop of Many Things, which is a UK-based company, actually.
Oh, cool.
They made like the Ascend dice and things like that, but they produce a fully like metal casted cryptex. So it's like a lockbox that has, six. It's a physically locking kind of cylinder that has 6 different. You can set a code of 6 different letters that you put in. And that's a blast to use during long-term campaigns because you can have it be, oh, this is an enchanted mithril case that you find that can't be broken, aside from some crazy intervention. You can hand it to the players. You can have a note in there or whatever, and it could be sessions, so therefore weeks or months before they find the code to open it. And then when they do, it's like, oh, huge reveal, you know. And I think the best version of that I've ever had is I got to use that in a campaign. The players were able to open it because they found the code, and inside it was a note, but the note also had invisible ink written in between the lines. And the invisible ink could only be revealed with putting it in the freezer physically, was getting it into a cold space.
Right.
That's actually another Shop of Many Things. They have a lot of stuff like that. They have a pen that requires heat to disappear and cold to reappear. And so in the game, they cast Ray of Frost near it or something. But in real life, I was go put it in the freezer. And they did that. Took it out, and the ink revealed, and it was super immersive and fun. And that's what I love, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so. big escape room vibes in your sessions.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. They're very gimmicky, but also super. Yeah, it's just fun. I love it.
Very, very, very cool. Yeah, I can imagine it's less about it's just that little bit of extra immersion, right? When you're using actual props and things like that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's also a bit of that unexpected nature of it. It's so much of the game is played in your mind, which is the best part of it. When you can kind of ground it in physical things, I think it's cool and can make a lot of players feel a bit more connected to it. So I love that.
Very, very cool. Do you make your players use the weird dice that you find?
I have not used them a ton. There's been a couple of times where I have a 19-sided die that I've pulled out to represent a curse or something in game where there's no 20 on it, so there's no chance of a crit, which is kind of brutal. But I've used things like that in the past. A lot of times I'm just waiting for the right opportunity. I don't want to use these things just for the sake of using them, and so I'm always when something comes up, I'm what's a good solution to this? It's I'm going to use 19-sided die or something like that where it's super unique, but also if it's a negative thing, I want them to feel that in their hand. Damn, I can't physically roll a 20 until I, find the healer or whatever. That's biding my time for most of them.
That's very, very... A 19-sided dice is rough.
It's pretty brutal.
That's how most of my digital dice roll anyway.
Unless
I'm specifically trying not to kill a player, in which case it's 20s. Every side is a 20. Yeah.
We just started this new campaign last week. First roll I made as a DM with an attack roll was a 20. And we started them at level 1, which is unusual, but I immediately knocked one down, Thankfully didn't kill him outright, but it was okay. Now the 20 comes up,
of all times.
First almost kill someone.
My player got punished in our last session. He's playing a healer, and it was the first time that she'd come to the front lines. She was oh my! She'd finally because his last character, who was a cleric with an AC of 21, got pummeled by one of the bosses, which was his dad. And in this instance, he finally came to the front, and I rolled a crit immediately from an ice troll, and I was if I kill another healer,
all the war crimes,
just very specific curse against my players specifically.
It seems to be a common thing.
Yeah, it seems to be the way. Whenever you don't want to, that's when you do it, right?
Exactly.
Have you? How many? No, I'm going to cut that out. Changed my mind. I'm going to have a drink. What time are we at? 29. Right. Yep. I'll cut that out. Feel free to swear if you want to. Just because you can.
Damn it.
It's such a low lift one.
Yeah.
Oh, so warm. Come here. Yeah, I'll trade you a dog for a cat. Well, the picture of one.
Yes, absolutely. What is this cat's name?
This is Bo. Bo is on my YouTube profile picture. He has
Oh
anxiety.
yeah,
He
lovely.
he
Oh, Bo.
he's also 6 kilograms, which is nearly a full stone. He's a hefty lad, but yeah, full
Wow.
of anxiety.
Yeah.
I have to
As
keep that in
most,
the video now because
yeah,
he's good for views,
absolutely.
probably.
I my the dog's in my lap, but my cat was around here somewhere as well, and then he vanished. So I don't know where he went.
Dogs and cats, it's amazing when they mix. It's hard enough mixing cats and cats.
Oh yeah, we had two cats
Mm.
or we have two cats. When it was just the two cats, there was very poor chemistry. They would get in fights and
Mm.
stuff. Then we got our dog in the last like 4 months, and he's been like the great equalizer. Like they'll start fighting, and he'll go like jump in the middle and like try to keep the peace, and it's like evened out really well now. So like now it almost never fight. Nothing bad ever happens between them, which is
Yeah,
great. That was the missing piece.
get a dog. It's a
Yeah,
great
good
excuse
dog.
to get a dog.
Yeah,
To
it
be
is.
fair. Do you find that your focus is a lot more expensive than other D&D tubers?
I think there's a world where it would be, and I
Mm.
think um, I'm really lucky because by the time I sort of established that focus, I had already figured out the basic, toolkit of making a video that
Yeah.
does well. Um, if it had been the other way around, where I was like buying these things or whatever, and the videos weren't doing well,
Mm.
then it would be expensive. But I think I found myself in a lucky situation where a lot of times, a lot of these things fall on my lap these
Right.
days. More, either they're sent to me or, um, they're complimentary or whatever. There's still things I do buy, but um, I think there's a world where it does become really expensive.
Mm.
I think I'm lucky that I've been able to kind of thread that needle where a lot of things I don't have to spend too much money on. And for that, I'm very lucky,
Mm.
for sure. Yeah.
Very, very
Same
cool.
with like filament costs with 3D printers. That's probably my biggest one
Yeah.
is buying filament. But I've had times too where filament's been sent to me, just to use, which is crazy. It's like the disproportionate power of having a big number somewhere on a it's kind of ridiculous, but it unlocks certain doors. So
It's why rich people don't have to pay as much for stuff. It's the same thing, but with social capital instead of actual
it's
capital.
ridiculous. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's ridiculous, but it is the world we live in, I guess.
It's a perk. You got to enjoy it. You worked hard for it. That's the important thing. So,
I appreciate that.
did you have the focus in mind when you started doing all of the creation? Were you like, I want to talk about the cool stuff?
Dude, not at all. That's something my like if you could map out like the trajectory of the content I made, initially I went in with the idea of making homebrew specifically
Hmm.
was like my initial goal, coming up with weird, interesting magic items and spells or whatever. Because I'd seen a lot of people posting homebrew on like D&D subreddits and things
Mm.
like that. I was like, oh, I'm going to do the same thing but with videos. And I did that for a while, and all those videos were really bad, and they're only on TikTok. They didn't get a lot of views, and that's just how you start, obviously. And I had stumbled into a video series that ended up being my first like big exposure, which was on TikTok in 2020, where I was rolling a 100-sided die every
Mm.
day, and it was just I would roll it every day, and the whole thing was if I got a 1 or 100, something would happen, and it
Mm.
took like 100 days for that to happen. Um, that was the first time where I got any clue that people liked seeing a physical focus
Mm.
in a video. But it wasn't for like another year or two after that. Does that add up? Yeah, or about a year and a half after that, I like started and stopped making content.
Mm.
I eventually like had the idea after chatting with a friend of mine who like ran a blog um, to try just doing like product reviews, in the space. And the first few did well enough that I was like, oh, this is something worth
Mm.
investigating further. Um, Yeah, and then now, however many years later, that's obviously become one of the staples of my channel. Um, yeah, just all stumbling into stuff, but yeah, initially did not start that way at all. But here we are. That's kind of that's how the ball rolls, you know.
Some people come in with the idea that they want the niche they want to be into fully formed, and they're aiming for that. And I think the majority of people make a thing that does really, really well. Like, the reason I started doing reviews on the channel is I was like, oh, I really like the gunslinger class on D&D Beyond. I'll talk about it. And also remembered that I review things for a living, and I was like, oh, maybe I could use that in my hobby. Maybe that would be a good thing to lean into.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they've been doing far better than anything else on my channel, so it's a staple now. So yeah,
that's the crossroads you want.
Are there any big projects coming up that you want to talk about?
There are two that come to mind. The first, we've already touched on a little bit, but Scorched Basin is a Kickstarter with Homie and the Dude that's coming out on, I think, September 2nd, and it's running until October 9th. But it is a crazy system agnostic TTRPG setting with a bunch of stuff in it. It's awesome. It's like Mad Max. It's Dune, but there's like 5 factions, and it's this crazy world. I was lucky enough to actually work on it, and I made like 20 pages of magic items. So that's all grounded in the world. The lore behind it is incredible. There's all these adventures. I am super excited just to play with it, but also excited for the project to get rolling officially on Kickstarter. So that's a big one. And then second to that, I actually just like last week launched my Patreon, which is brand new. That is focused on 3D printable designs for accessories and props and things like that for TTRPGs, and that's a really fresh one. But I've got a lot of weird and exciting ideas for it, so excited to see where that goes as well.
Sick. Is there anything else you'd like to plug at all?
No, man, your channel. You're already here, so make sure you subscribe to this guy. Awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming. That's that. We're going to wave at the camera as the sign off if you're ready. So, yeah.
Please.
Goodbye.
Farewell.